Okay, I'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. Uh, Take the roll call. Larry Freeman,
Present.
Esfir Malik, present. Julian Rotnowski is not here. Hilda Torres,
Here.
Jack Rutherford is not here. Justin Heather present. We do have a quorum. I'll make a motion to excuse Julian and Jack from this week's meeting. They both had last minute conflicts come up. Can I get a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to excuse those two absences. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Citizen comments, we'll have, any citizens that want to speak, obviously, we have a pretty open forum. So, Ms. Carroll, if you, obviously, if you could sign in for me too, but, anytime you have anything to say, obviously, this is a very open forum for discussion of what we do, so we'll keep citizen comments open throughout the course of the meeting. Item 4, approval of minutes of our prior meeting held on January 14th, 2025. A copy of those minutes has been presented or provided. Once you've had a chance to review, I'll entertain a motion to approve or amend.
Besides having my name misspelled, I move that we approve the minutes.
Have a motion, have a second?
I'll fix that.
Second.
Have a motion, and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 5, discussion items. Item 5A is discussion regarding recent discussions about downtown matters and all their matters incident there too. From my perspective, one of the things that came up recently was the vacant building ordinance and the notices that several property owners got at the end of 2024. We've had myself and Julian, and I'm not sure who else, probably others in this room, have had discussions with the city, both staff and some elected officials. The EDAC, the Economic Development Advisory Committee, has recommended changing that. I've prepared a draft revision to the vacant building ordinance. It's under discussion. It sounds like it's going to move forward with some kind of changes. Don't know exactly what it's going to look like, but having received quite a bit of feedback on that one, you know, those of us on the bid and others interested in downtown have spoken to the city, and I think we're going to see some form of relief in the coming months, especially in terms of enforcement. That it's not going to be unduly punitive, and hopefully we can still keep track of the building owners that have properties downtown that are vacant, but at the same time not penalize those who own land that are unable to rent their facilities because of the current state of downtown. And that's hopefully the end result. I think everyone that I've spoken to within the city is supportive, understands that, and I think we're going to end up with a better vacant building ordinance than we had originally. And before any fees or fines or any of that is imposed, I think we're going to have a much more fulsome discussion with the public before we ever get to that sort of a stage.
You know, several people that have approached me because of this ordinance, they just wanted to know, it's like downtown. It's like what we went through with all our taxes in downtown. With several of the city managers, maybe the last 4 city managers that sat down and gone over all our assessed valuations for our downtown. And downtown has always been so much more expensive than anywhere else. I mean, when I brought to their attention Bank of America, HEB, Weingarten Group at the time, $5.50 a square foot. Bank of America, $10.60 a square foot. Falcon Bank, Border Foundry, that whole shopping center, $11 a square foot. And then you come downtown, $35, $38 a square foot, $26 here, just for the land, So as far as the vacant buildings are concerned, what they've come back to me, all are people that are very, very much interested in the bid. This group is totally against this particular ordinance, and they said that, Larry, I just want you to answer one question, or ask Justin. How about the rest of the city of Laredo? I wanna know if the city is gonna have this ordinance on all of Laredo. Why is it just downtown? Is this our council lady that's pushing this? And I said, I have no idea. I don't know where it came from. I do, but I don't. I'm like Sergeant Schultz, okay? So anyway, that was one of the things that they asked,
I appreciate that.
okay? You know, like, I'll give you an example, Simon Fallick, you know, where we would have buildings downtown on Convent Street that we're collecting rents, $35,000, $40,000 a month, you know, for one building. Now we're collecting $5,500 a month, and a third of the building is empty. What do? He says, you know, let's say Grant and Convent, we have, let's say 7,000 square feet there, and what do? We can't get a tenant. I mean, you guys, we have people on Convent that are now leasing their buildings for $1,500 a month on Convent, and eat or be there. It's something unheard of. I mean, have you heard of this?
First time?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had half dozen restaurants and bars close in the last 18 months. And it's
Yeah.
not because the person owning the building is jacking up the rents.
No,
It's-
on the contrary. On the contrary,
Yeah.
you know, we tell these people, you know, what can we do? It's not what you can do. It's that, you know, we met, and I'm sorry for going on it, you know,
No,
if I'm out of order
please.
right here, but, you know, I've met with chief of police and their whole staff, and trying to see what we can do with them as far as what's happening on Iturbide Street, and there's just so much happening that right now, and especially right now, they're not cutting it. But then this was last month. This past week, I heard people talking that, Larry, our sales were the best in 2-3 years. It's just incredible. It was that week, last week. I don't know what was going on last week. I wasn't here, but it's sad, especially what's happening right now.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
You know. But the you know, it's like I was trying to not educate these people because they're very, very intelligent, but I just said, you know, a lot of these buildings, if it's like a house, you want to stage them, you want to paint them up, I said, Larry, I'll do all that. Just get me the tenant. There's no tenants.
Yeah.
That's the problem. We have to just be a little bit more creative. I mean, Jay's told me the same thing about his building on Zaragoza Street. And, you know, with the vandalism and all what's happening downtown, it's an issue.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway.
Absolutely. Wow. Yeah, well, I'm hoping that in the next month or so, I've had some conversations, and I know a lot of folks are at DC this week, but hopefully in the next few weeks we'll get some direction on the vacant building ordinance. Don't think it'll be going before council in March, but I'm hoping by April we'll have a little more direction to give the business owners downtown on where that's going to be. The TERS, we're 99% done with that. We've got some punch list items we're waiting on a couple pieces to be delivered. It takes 4 to 6 weeks supposedly to fabricate, to get some caps on some of these walls. I took a tour with some landscape architects last week, and so along Zaragoza you'll see the improvements. They look pretty darn good, but you know, some trees that need to either be trimmed or pruned in such a way that will help them, you know, increase their longevity, maybe grow. Then a few others where the trees are a little bit, you know, probably shouldn't have been put where they are because of the wires. But we are moving forward. AEP should have a good idea next month about the metal poles.
Right.
And those metal poles, I want to say are like 47 or 50 feet. They're sunk down 7 feet, so the wire should be 30 feet or above. So we'll have sufficient area for growth there. We had our financial workshop yesterday. We have money to spend on further improvements. So hopefully next month we will have wrapped up the phase one. We'll start going out to bid for the next phase of streetscape improvements.
And as far as TERS is concerned, because we brought this up in the past, how about the lighting? Remember the cross lighting? I know we had issues with AEP at one time and don't use our poles and.
We're working through some of those discussions. The most recent discussion I had on lighting downtown was the city has a grant, I want to say through EDA, that may be wrong, no, Department of Energy.
EPA.
EPA,
Yeah.
there you go. I had too many acronyms, but I think it's going to be something 75, 76 lights downtown, LED lights, as well as maybe 24 solar trash compactors are going to be installed. They did a walkthrough. I was not in town for that, but they're working on the final locations for downtown, looking primarily at the dark spots, the places where, you know, the most need for lighting is.
Right.
So hopefully that will help. We do have some designs that Able City prepared on behalf of the TERS years ago. That whether it be through the TERS or the bid, I would like to do in coordination with the fire department, because anytime you go across the street, you risk the ladder trucks. So we'll have to coordinate, whichever organization ultimately installs those, we're gonna have to coordinate with the fire department and the fire marshal to make sure that, you know, we're not gonna interfere with the ladder trucks. But yes, that's absolutely one of those things that has to be down there. That was one of the topics everyone has agreed upon is that more lighting is necessary downtown.
Very important.
Especially, I provided the city with a heat map from Placer AI that my company has a license for, just to show where folks are frequenting the most. Not necessarily that's where the lights are going to go, but that's where we need to have the lights, is where people are. And so, you know, hopefully that will come into discussion with a walkthrough, and if there's sufficient lighting now, great. But you know, if there are areas that are dark, especially where people are, to keep them safe, let's have the lighting there. So, you know, my hope is that, you know, we get that going very soon.
And as far as the TERS with the parking, I was with the city last week, and we mentioned this as far as parking. I know La Posada Fasting Group, they're doing another survey as far as the streets are concerned. And they mentioned to me, the city was mentioning to me, as far as the TERS, around the arts and entertainment, that particular area, let's say Lincoln, Flores, San Agustin, as far as your parking out there, is that, are you gonna be doing that anytime soon?
We've done the one plaza with a diagonal parking. We then will have to move to the next plaza, because we're gonna have engineers and KCI design it, because you're gonna have the traffic engineers, and they have great software that really shows where the cars can back up, making sure that we're not losing parking spots, but also that it's safe. And yeah, that does take time for them to do it. But once they're able to set that up, it's a fairly quick fix. And I know that when the city was like basically need to pay. You know, so it's a very quick process once an engineering study is done on those plazas.
And I bring this up because the other thing that we talked about was from Saragossa, basically to Matamoros Street is having your angled parking also. I know the Rapnowski bike lane, nobody uses it, especially at night between 7:30, 8 o'clock at night until 2 o'clock in the morning. And having our parking all throughout Convent will open up all these buildings that we have there. And that was one of the things that the Phallics looked at because of one of the buildings that we have that's on Saragossa and also on Grant Street. Where your next phase on Saragossa, we have that middle building that goes all the way to Grant. So we're looking at developing that, and we talked about the parking. And so meeting with the city, they said that they're gonna be looking into it, but I said, this has already been mentioned. Your name came out, as Beaver, just want you to know. But they talked about this as if maybe the TERS has already discussed this in the past, as far as parking.
We have had discussions, and the difficulty is focusing on places where the street is wide enough to accommodate under the standards. I think it's the AASHTO standards. I think that's the right acronym. Too many acronyms today, but it's basically sort of the guidelines that the Fed has set up for parking regulations. And so you have to make sure that there's a certain width, and I'm thinking back into the flow of traffic. One of the things that came up was Saragossa, as you approach the bridge.
Right.
We were out there looking at some of the landscaping, and someone parked their car and put on the flashers and went somewhere. And
Unbelievable.
I was standing there for 15 minutes, we were looking at this, and every car had to basically come, brake, essentially get on, almost onto the sidewalk where we were standing to get around this individual. So we're gonna have to work on those narrower streets, working on that sort of traffic flow. Is there, what do we have to do to enforce, folks not parking where they shouldn't be? And then, to your point, making sure that we have diagonal parking where we can, because A, that increases the number of parking, B, it's just as safe,
Right.
If not safer than the parallel parking.
Mm-hmm.
And it speeds up the flow of traffic, because, when you're pulling in, it's very quick. Pulling out's a little slow, but as opposed to parallel parking and,
But you see, the thing is that, like what I was telling the boys upstairs, is that you guys have to come out here at night. At night between 9, 10 o'clock, and sip on a little tequila or beer at the Mina, and see the traffic, how much real traffic you have. You don't have much. And so this, right now, especially the way things are, this can open up on the east-west of Convent all the way on up a lot of these buildings out there, especially if we have parking.
yeah.
This would really, really, really help. Really help.
And especially additional parking, like on location. One of the things that the parking study showed us was there is sufficient parking downtown, but you could be 7 blocks from where you want to be.
Right.
And yeah, that's sufficient parking, but it's 115 degrees and someone has to walk through that. That may not be someone who should be out in that heat for 7, 8 blocks.
I tell you, as far as our downtown is concerned, and you're absolutely right about that. But another thing is that a lot of people, especially our young people, that's who we're gonna be targeting, at least myself, as far as living, playing, working in our downtown area. And these kids today will walk, they'll ride their bicycle, that's okay. And you're seeing this, look at the amount of gyms that are opening up here. I mean, as soon as I get out of here, I'm gonna go walk, and I walk in a park off of, don't ask me the name of the park, but it's a 3.5 mile walk around it, and it's off of International Boulevard. You see tons of people out there. So I'm saying, these are the people that would love believe it or not, they'd love to live here. I have the plans in my car as far as the apartments that are going up on Florida Street. But I just think that, the parking, you've mentioned we have enough parking for what we have in our downtown area. It's just educating the people. They don't know, the only parking, if you ask right now, and this is what we've always talked about, the shuttle, it was at Gary's at the outlet mall. We have all that parking that really belongs to the city that's leased to Gary. So I think it's very, very important. I think it's very, very important. I love this parallel parking, angled parking, any type of parking that we can get in the downtown is definitely gonna help us.
Yeah, absolutely.
I won't talk anymore.
Any other downtown matters anybody wants to talk about?
Yes. Can you find a way to get rid of those frickin' pigeons?
There you go.
Shoot,
You know,
I didn't.
I can't believe you're saying that. Just for the record, so you all will know, and you will know also, this is very, very sad what I'm gonna say. I feed the pigeons. I feed the mourning doves. I feed all the birds because it reminds me of my mother. I spend maybe, I forget the money, I buy 500 pounds of feed for downtown, okay? So, just so you all will know, my gardener went up to me 2 weeks ago and said, I want you to know, he didn't say it that way, he said, quiero que sepas, Spanish, I want you to know that there's trucks now in the downtown area that are basically trapping the pigeons. They're trapping them and they're taking them out for pigeon shoots. And I said, you're kidding me. And he says, no. He said, I'm not gonna tell you who they are. I'm not gonna tell, but they're collecting pigeons now. And I can see it's less and less pigeons. So.
So he doesn't recognize your truck, is what he's
Exactly.
telling me.
Okay. Have you heard of it?
No.
No? Yeah, it's happening.
But that was a discussion at the downtown summit last year.
The pigeons?
Was the pigeons.
Yeah.
And then we have cats, and then we've got some dogs. And it's just a matter of time, one of those dogs is gonna bite someone.
Yeah.
Like me, I got bit by a dog.
Yeah. And forget that, and somebody will actually go out with the gun with a revenge, and they're gonna miss the dog and probably kill somebody else.
That's very true.
Or
Or,
themselves.
or you have other people that are basically trapping the cats. Trapping the cats and taking them to Delmore or to Regency and dropping them off. You know, like trading places. Yeah. Right, Ethan?
Yes,
Regency.
because they're moving on up.
Yeah.
Regency.
To Regency.
Alright, I will, talk to some folks about the animal population downtown. Any other downtown items anybody wants to talk about, just sort of discussion wise?
I replaced my, I don't know if you've had that issue. I replaced my door, somebody broke it again. Down the lizard.
Oh, I have it.
Might as well just board it now.
Well, that's
Well,
the
there's
problem.
actually an operating, a very successfully and currently operating store that has, boarded up windows. And so I thought they were closed and
They're
they're
open.
still open.
That on Farragut,
The
one of my
corner-
Korean guys,
the
he
corner
does
of-
that all the time. Yeah.
Is it Salinas?
Well, on our other building that we have on the
County
corner, which
Border
is
Metro.
the southeast corner of Convent and Hidalgo, we have a 10,000 square foot building and it's practically all boarded up. And the Koreans will not pay a penny. They said I think they paid $480 per window. And they said, we don't pay no more. We don't pay no more.
I was just, downtown, right, about to go into that shop and, you know, there's a problem with, someone using it as a,
Bathroom.
because they're living
Sure.
there.
Oh, I have pictures.
And so the people that run that store, every morning and afternoon, they clean their sidewalk area.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a call last week, I can't remember, I was down here and I was heading back up north and said, who's your property manager for downtown? They got people using the bathroom there,
Who,
so.
and what's the answer?
Well, the property manager that I sent them to was Dale. My property manager at the, for downtown.
Oh,
I don't know if she's the actual property manager for the property, but she was the first person that I had the phone number for, and I was like, call Dale and have her fix it, you know, get somebody out there.
because just generally, the area, like, who do we talk to about the issues?
Well, I mean, that's the question, is there's really no one until this bid gets going to do this, because I don't know of any city department that would be handling that.
So what I'm hearing is that there is no one at the city that that anybody could communicate with about the issues downtown specifically.
Well, Mr. Valdez is, sort of a downtown liaison, and Councilmember Figueroa for District 8 would be folks to talk to, but I don't know of anyone that provides the services you're talking about to move folks along and to clean up, those sort of things.
Or just anything like parking or economic development.
Oh, then I would, economic development, I would talk to
Or promoting the
Miriam.
area, or all those things.
Yeah.
I'm looking for that department or person. You said Mr. Valdez, but who's that?
Jose?
Yeah. Assistant city manager, one of his tasks is downtown liaison. So he'll work with, Councilmember Figueroa, and then I believe, and Amber, you correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe they still have posted a downtown liaison in the economic development department. I think they're still looking for someone to focus on downtown. I don't know that position has yet been filled. But it may have been, and I don't know.
I just think, I mean, it's very important, I mean, as far as starting all these different organizations here. And it's very, very important that we have someone to call, like, this was several weeks ago. I mean, this guy this is Convent, this is our store on Convent, and he was relieving himself, and we took a picture, and he's there like, what? What?
Yeah.
And so the police, when we went out with Chief Miguel, we raised these questions and we said, you know, what's going on here? If the owner, if someone from the store does not call in, they're not gonna stop and say, hey, get out of here. They're not gonna do it. The police are not gonna do it. When you have to call 311, like my problem has been, on San Agustin Plaza. We've already lost 2 people out there, really 3. But they're going 40, 50 miles an hour from Florida Street, fishtailing on Florida, getting to Grant, all the way to San Bernardo. I mean, this was yesterday, and we wanted to film it, but the guy turned around and looked at us, and we said, no, and my gun's in the back of my house, and so I didn't have time, so I didn't wanna really film the guy, but I've already showed it, and when we had our meeting with traffic this week, they said, sir, did you call 311? No, I've talked to this person, everybody that you've mentioned. I've mentioned everybody we've talked to. Even my city council lady has been talked to the blue in the face. Nothing has been done until yesterday, they said, sir, document this by calling 311, and then we'll make a study to see if we can go ahead and put the speed bumps there.
Yeah, I mean, my hope is that for a lot of these that, like if you look at what El Centro has done in San Antonio, they have these little bikes with 50-gallon drums on them.
Right.
That can do the spot cleaning for when that comes up. Because obviously, property owners may clean up. It's not a perfect solution, but you know, the intent being that once downtown is revitalized and there were more bodies down there. And it
Mhm.
was, I mean, I know a lot of different groups, county, the city, private industry, are all, you know, investing in this, is that once you have bodies down there, people don't tend to relieve themselves, in public. They, you know, find an alley, they go somewhere else. It's sort of like, sort of the congregation right now at some of the fountains or the parks. When there's nobody around, they can hang out and, you know, throw their trash around and whatnot. If there's bodies moving, whether it be security personnel or just visitors or
Right.
employees moving, folks don't tend to loiter where there's that much activity. So the hope is that this whole process pushes us towards that.
You know, like, I was telling Cliff, you know, some of the people that have come in with, one of the acquisitions that you all have on the southwest corner of Grant and Flores, I said, that's a restaurant. And it's perfect. You couldn't ask for a better location. And teeing it up with the people that I'm dealing with, the first thing I did, I went to the police and I said, listen, I even asked the chief if he wanted to get stoned. So if he wanted to get stoned, and he put his hands like this and he said, you know, Friedman, nobody has ever asked me that, you know, especially me wearing, no, don't take it that way. Sit on my porch, have a tequila, and just breathe in the air. They're all smoking in front, and they have their electrical little outlets there. They plug in their phone, their boombox, and it's party time. So this was 10 days ago. No more electricity outlet. They took it off, and the guys have moved away. It's a start.
Yeah.
It's a start. But I think that a lot of these people where they're coming out of and their cartons and the food that they're bringing into the streets and then relieving themselves, it's all from, and you know, I have a heart for these people also, but it's really a problem. It's a problem with the people that are mentally ill. Those are the ones that are scary.
Oh, absolutely.
So whose job is it then to clean up? The property owner?
Right now, that's, yes. The steep.
And if there was a lot of people or buildings occupied and people are still doing that, who would do that?
Well,
Or would
once
the
it-
city then come in?
Well, part of the bid plan that we approved was sidewalk cleaning, spot cleaning, you know, that sort of, once we activate we've already activated, but we're gonna sort of reset the effective date for the assessment, we can start providing those services. Right now, there's no city services to clean up that. I mean, the city does sometimes do street sweeping, you know, the truck will drive down the street, but not necessarily the sidewalks. And so, either the property owner does it, and, you know, you see some folks out there cleaning up themselves. You know, we had our property manager, you know, hire somebody to come clean up some messes that we had, but, you know, the plan is that, you know, the bid will help do this, and then once more activity is downtown, there'll be less of this, at least on sidewalks and storefronts where people are gonna walk, you know. It's not gonna happen. I mean, I was in Chicago and folks, you know, in that situation relieved themselves when they did, but it was in alleys, you know, sort of away from people and populations. So that's the intent, but it is gonna take time, I think.
I know it's gonna take time, and I know this is like, we've deviated for here, but one of the last things that I was gonna tell you is that with everything that's going on in our downtown today, and the people that are definitely looking into our downtown, because everything that we see, this is all temporary. I know it's temporary, it's no two ways about it. And one of the things that we've been looking at is also, which is very, very important, downtown is like the wild, wild west as far as people going in and doing whatever they my clients have said, you know, Larry, everything that we do is kosher. We do it all by the book. And when you do these things by the book, you're penalized. You're penalized where people try to do things and they're trying to develop something that's been 2 years just to get from first base to second base over here. You already got to first base, but the process of developing, just developing any of your properties downtown, a lot of these people, they have no idea. They have no idea what's going on. And it's really, really sad. You know, in San Antonio, and we always go back to San Antonio, and I say this because of what we've learned. And when we were developing in the downtown area of San Antonio, basically on Houston Street in St. Mary's, with Federal Realty Investment Trust, it's like we had all our departments at every meeting. Everybody was there. There was no, okay, no, we're gonna postpone it, we don't have this group, we don't have utilities here. We used to have Ria Diarrhea, but he's gone. And, but I think that downtown needs definitely needs help as far as all the players and getting things done for redevelopment. And seeing these buildings that we have downtown, you know, there's the nice little word, it's called, I think it's called variance. And I think that we should use that word a little bit more in our downtown area. Just give these people a break, the ones that want to develop. You know, they come out with, you know, if your building's X amount of square feet, you're gonna have X amount of people. Maybe you're not gonna have those people. They want you to invest and put in a fire suppression system. All our buildings have them. We do that because we get a discount also with insurance. It'll pay itself off, you know, within time. But I think that, you know, whether it's the fire, I mean, and we know all these people because we deal with them, but I think that you guys getting on board and, you have to think outside the box. And I think that if we had a nice group here to help these people, I think we can go a long ways. I really do, Justin. Hey,
Yeah.
I honestly and truly, I really do.
And I know there's been discussion on that building code sort of specific to downtown, like taking into acknowledgement and consideration the downtown as a particular animal. But I haven't seen new codes, but, you know, taking that into account of some sort.
But here, as an example, what you just said, Justin, is that we're looking specifically for downtown. It's just like the empty building ordinance. It's specifically for downtown. It's not for the whole city. Why not? Why can't it be for the whole city? And here, I'm just saying, right now, at this point, the way things are, we thought things were gonna start hopping and bopping, and no, it didn't happen yet. It will. I feel very, very confident it will. But I think if we can educate the right people as far as downtown is concerned, it's very, very important, Justin.
Oh, absolutely.
If we wanna take this to another level,
Absolutely.
you know, especially you guys right now
Oh,
with what you all have invested.
Absolutely. I did want to let everybody know that we have obtained directors and officers insurance for the bid. Julian has obtained that coverage. Did speak with a lawyer. We don't have an engagement letter, but once I get that, you know, I'll review it and share it with everybody. The notion would be that as legal matters come up, we wouldn't be charging, you know, paying for a lawyer unless we have a specific legal question that we need an answer to. But you know, having legal counsel was one of the recommendations that we've received as part of, you know, getting the bid active, especially once it's staffed. You know, once we have, you know, the staff who's gonna be out cleaning, picking up trash, addressing some of the concerns on security, lighting and whatnot. the insurance was obviously, right now it's directors and officers, once we have staff, we'll move that over to a liability sort of thing, so that someone falls off a ladder or drops something, that will be covered, as well as, any legal matters that comes up in terms of, okay, well, there's a junction box there, can I plug it in, and who pays for these lights now?
Right.
Or the electricity,
Right.
those sorts of questions that we're gonna have to come up. Question for you, Amber, we had a quorum, Mr. J has stepped out,
I'm gonna go get him.
okay, I just wanna know, can we even take action with
No.
3 of the 4, or,
As
Okay.
long as he's still coming back.
okay, listen, I don't wanna take action and then just, I'd rather defer it
Yeah,
and take
and
action later than
If he stepped out, we
take
lost.
action and then,
Yeah, we lost.
Come back
him.
and ratify.
But if he comes back, then we'll have it again.
okay. There's always this little tricky, it's like, well, once you have a quorum and then, you can take certain actions, you can vote certain ways, and
How many people are on the board here?
right now we have 6. If we approve, Mr. Davida, then we'll have 7. Total should be 9. Dan's appointment will be effective through June. Then
Oh, that's right,
everyone but
it's
me is
yeah.
like June, and then
I
you and I had hammered out sort of, they'll need to be reappointed by the city council with some kind of a staggering, and I can't remember what numbers we
Yeah,
had
we
worked
came
out
up
when we
with a-
talked about it.
Staging.
My appointment, because I'm the most recent, I think I still have 2 more years left, but, we can get on the staggered, and more importantly, get us larger, so that we're not, by the skin of our teeth hitting the quorum and begging people to make whatever changes to their schedule are necessary to get, bodies here.
It's like everything else here. And I'm always coming up with all this stuff and with downtown, with a lot of my clients that I have, that I love them all, but everybody thinks so differently. And they can't come together and agree on one direction. For whatever reason it might be, like this lady. I mean, she was the cause of my divorce at one time, calling me up just to tell me that I was overdrawn at 10:30 at night, and remember those days? But we have the people now in our downtown area that basically, I think it's come to a point where they wanna see a change now. They really, really, really wanna see a change, and if we can get this board all together, I think it can happen.
I think change is coming, I think it's just slow.
Sure.
But we feel like we're on the brink of it.
Yeah. Okay, so, speaking of change, we'll add someone to the board hopefully. The item 6A is discussion with possible action to appoint Dan Davia to the board of directors. Dan is the center manager for the Outlets. The Outlets is probably one of the biggest, property values, sort of, taxpayers in the bid area. And his appointment would be by the board, so it would be effective through June. As everyone may recall, because how everyone was appointed together, other than me, everyone's term expires in June, so they'll need to be reappointed by city council. We as a board can backfill spots, like Mr. Bizaguerre is no longer serving on the board, we can fill his spot, but only through the duration of his term. And then we'll have to go to city council in June for the next round of appointments to make sure that we have a board come June. So So I would move to appoint Dan Davia to the board of directors to serve out the remainder of Mr. Izaguirre's term through June of this year.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 6B is discussion with possible action to ratify the assessment and set of the effective date, including resolution number 225R-001 and all other matters incident thereto. I'm bringing this to the board because, as you may recall, in May we had approved, well, in the fall we had approved the improvement plan, and in December we approved the assessment. And speaking to the organization that we would be engaging to collect that assessment, by approving it in December, we would be able to collect an assessment for 24 and 25, which in discussions with several other people, we thought that was not a great idea, that, you know, hitting folks with basically sort of a double assessment for a 13-month period, because it would be between December and December, for 13 months would be 2 assessments for 2 years. I would like to obviously ratify our prior actions, but make the effective date for the assessment this year, which would be today, March 12, 2025, so that the assessment was only imposed for calendar year 25 and not 2024. I would make a motion to do so through this resolution. Do I have a second?
And when would this be collected?
This year, so
In
within the
December?
next 60 days, we would, the organization would issue the notice for the collection and begin collecting. We are going to have the organization come present in April. He was not available in March, to talk about the process, and they currently work with the Gateway Mud and numerous other MMDs to understand the process and sort of how it would work.
I second.
I have a motion, a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. I will sign as chair and then ask you to sign this new resolution as secretary.
Okay.
Item 7, any announcements that we haven't already discussed? I don't know that I have anything else for downtown on my radar currently, but I'm sure there's something out there that I'm chewing on. Well then, I would move to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?